Yeah, they're around. So. You good? All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Adam Compton. This is Eric Gershman. Today we'll do a quick little talk on phishing, going over a little tool that I wrote toward the end, do a demo. We'll see how fast we can go through this. Hopefully we don't go over. Hopefully everybody can get out of here happily and get on to evening activities. First of all, the obligatory agenda slide. Today we're just going to be going over a little bit about who we are, why you should be listening to us, things of that nature. What is phishing, a little bit of the standard phishing process, procedure that I tend to use, as well as then getting into the tool and the updates and a quick demo of it. We'll go through this. Hopefully it's not going to be too boring for you. Stick around. The demo will be a little more entertaining, I'm sure. So onward. As I said before, I'm Adam Compton. I've been doing this for quite some time in InfoSec. I am a hillbilly, yes. I'm proud of it, but it's fun. But predominantly, thank you. But predominantly, I do recognize, aside from being a father and a hillbilly, I do represent myself as a programmer. That's what my education was in. That's what I love doing. I do pen testing, but I'm a programmer doing pen testing. As such, I like to script things, automate things, and I do appreciate when other people in the community write tools, submit them, release them. It's great. It helps out everybody. And this was one of my little attempts to help contribute back to the community. I've done websites and stuff in the past, but this was one of the first actual tools I've released out there for everybody. We'll be going over it toward the end. And let's step over to Eric and let him take it for a while here.
Hi, I'm Eric Gershman. So I've been in IT for about 10 years now, and most of that's been working as a systems administrator. A few years ago, I made the switch full-time to information security, and I'm working in high-performance computing. I help secure supercomputers and basically the resources that support them. So Adam and I met through DC865, the DEF CON group in Knoxville, and we started talking about different projects, and Adam had an idea for a phishing project where he wanted to automate a lot of the processes he did as a pen tester. So a little bit afterwards, I really decided I wanted to learn a lot more about phishing, and the best way to really learn about, I wanted to learn how to defend against phishing. And I found recently that the best way to learn about defense is to really understand offense. So I created a credential harvesting walkthrough for DC865 using Morning Catch. Morning Catch is a vulnerable virtual machine created by Raphael Mudge. And it was created to demo client-side attacks. It's a really awesome VM. If you want to find out more about Morning Catch, you can just talk to Raphael at the Cobalt Strike booth at the top of the escalators. Yeah. So he's out there. He's easy to find, and he's really good, awesome to talk to. So we're going to go over a little bit of a background about phishing. It's going to be pretty short, and then we're going to get to the tool demo. So at its most basic, phishing is an attempt to gain sensitive information by manipulating someone through electronic communications. So why would you phish when there's so many other possible attack vectors? So starting out, phishing has a really high return on investment. Whether you're targeting 10 people or 100, it may take the same amount of effort to put it together. Second, it may be the easiest way to get on a network that has a really low attack surface on the internet. And finally, it just works. Phishing exploits some of our basic human needs, the needs to be helpful to other people. And let's face it, we're pretty gullible as humans, and we fall for things. So another reason is that phishing has gone on for over 20 years. It goes all the way back to the mid-90s with American Online. We did a little bit of background research, and the best we could tell, the first instances of phishing were script kiddies using Visual Basic or C++ progs on AOL. One of the most popular was AOL. It actually made the paper. In San Jose Mercury, all the way back in '95, they reported that AOL includes a phisher that allows a user to pose as an AOL official and ask new members for passwords or credit card numbers. So here's an example of AOL running. Here you have it phishing for passwords. And on the lower right, it has the message it's composing, a list of the targets, and then the responses over there on the left. In this case, it's a password attack, so it's getting passwords back. It hasn't gotten a lot more complicated since then, and in many cases, phishing has become much more easier and effective. So what kind of sensitive information are attackers after? You can split it into a small amount of categories. At the most basics, they're either trying to get on a system, or for malicious criminals, they're trying to make money somehow. This can be through stealing credit cards. It can be through trying to steal someone's identity, or PII, protected information, or health information to try and do insurance or even Medicare fraud. I've seen recent examples where they're going after Bitcoin brokers in order to try and steal Bitcoin wallets. So they're trying to get money directly. And one of the more interesting ones I've seen is Steam accounts. So here we have, if you look on Twitter, there's a lot of examples of people being targeted on phishing attacks against their Steam account, as shown here. I looked into this a little more, and I found Steam File Stealer Extreme. So, what's old is new again. It's kind of similar to AOL in that it's a purpose-built tool. Steam File Stealer Extreme, it's a commercial tool where you pay $19.95 and you're able to steal someone's Steam file and then keylog their credentials. I had to look into this a little bit more, and they're not just trying to steal games with this. They're also trying to go after the secondary markets with, for example, Team Fortress 2, they have collectibles hats, and you can sell these collectibles on third-party markets and make thousands of dollars. So what are the primary types of phishing attacks? Here's the basic categories. Now, main phishing is a regular blanket email attack. Usually these are very simple. They require little to no advanced research. Most of the time is spent gathering the target emails. You probably get these all the time going to your spam folders. They can be basically as large as the target base. So it can be in the thousands all the way into the millions. Yeah. So the next type is spear phishing. Spear phishing usually targets a group of people with a shared commodity, such as employees for a specific company. This requires advanced research to make the email actually believable, such as at a minimum you're going to need the company logo and so on. A lot of times in pen testing engagements, this can range from tens to hundreds of people. Finally, there's whaling. When you just want the CEO, president, or even a sysadmin, then you're just sending one email and you're targeting one person. This can be really risky because you only get one chance to get it right. This can go on, it can be a short engagement, it could go on for weeks. So most pen test engagements are going to involve spear phishing or whaling. You're not going to be going after the entire internet. Yeah, doubtful. Yeah. So now we're going to go through a standard phishing process that we've kind of seen. We've talked to other people, and this is what we can tell a lot of people are using. Everyone has their own methodologies. This is just the most common that we can find. So it all starts with Recon. It all starts with reconnaissance. This is where you're collecting the list of targets and any other information that may help you compose the attack. You can use sources such as the company's own website, Google searches, and even social media sites. So the target list, it might be provided by the customer, but this is where you're going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out who you're targeting to make it more believable. There's a number of tools out there that can help you with reconnaissance. For example, the Harvester will help you just get target emails and some basic information. Recon NG is actually a full-on framework for getting information through different social media sites and all sorts of different sources, such as pwn lists. You can find out a lot more about Recon NG since there's a talk tomorrow at 9 a.m. By the creator Tim Tomes. So FOCA and MetaGoofle, Those are both used to parse metadata from files. So you could parse the company website and pull down these files and then gain information from their attack surface on the internet. Finally, we have NetGlove and Maltego. These tools are great for doing mass research and seeing how different information points connect to each other, how one host name might be connected to another company. They're really cool tools. They're both GUI tools, and you can find a lot of information using them. So next is the setup and deployment. This usually involves setting up services such as web, DNS, and mail. Now, once all your services are running, you have to create a convincing scenario using the information that you got from the reconnaissance phase. And then it's time to actually send the messages. Now, once you have all this ready, you really should be sending out test emails to yourself, and then you want to step through this entire process to make sure nothing's wrong. This may be the only chance you have to fix things. Adam, what should you do if things don't go too well?
I may or may not know someone who was running a phishing exercise when they sent out, I don't know, 50 to 100 emails to a client, waiting for the results to come back, and really didn't get the stats you were expecting. Yeah, got a couple of hits, nothing great. I was really puzzled because it should have worked based on everything they had looked at. So they decided to go back and look at one of the sample, look at the website they were directing people to. Well, the website looked fair enough, except for the big company logo at the top was an invalid picture. So you had the big missing picture icon sitting up there. So, okay, this shouldn't have really stopped it too bad. Then you look at the email that was actually sent out and might have had another company's name sitting in there because it was a copy and paste error from a previous engagement. Just to say, things like that can happen, and they do happen. You should try your best to catch all of these before you send out the first email to the customer. If that means sending it to yourself, colleagues, maybe to your point of contact at the company to verify everything's looking right before you send them out en masse, great. Because once those actually hit the wire, yeah, they're sent. You can't really pull them back, and you've burnt that scenario. You have to figure out something else to try. And one good thing came out of it is at least this hypothetical person who did this, they were able to give a report to the customer saying, okay, giving absolute worst case scenario where it's a broken website and the wrong name in the emails and all that, 1% of your people still clicked on it and gave up credentials. So good for you, but hey, good luck. So I'll hand it back to you now. Story time is over.
We're not going to tell any more stories?
No. Later. Go ahead.
So next you need to collect the responses. For a credential harvesting attack, this could be the usernames and passwords. If you're exploiting the client, this could be Metasploit sessions. You need to be really careful here. If it is a credential harvesting attack and you're trying to turn this into a pen test, you have to act quickly. The company may respond and start resetting accounts. So either way, you need to decide what you need to do now. Do you just document the credentials, or do you move on and work your way into their network? Or do you use those to continue the assessment and turn this into a full penetration test? A lot of this is based on the agreement with the customer and the scope of work. So going from the setup and deployment, there's a number of tools that let you go from the setup and deployment all the way to the post-compromise phase. The Social Engineering Toolkit, or SET, or SET, not SET, is a general purpose tool to aid pen testers in performing client-side attacks. It has tons of features, and it's able to run a lot of different attacks. Phishing Frenzy, while not as robust as SET, does have a web-based UI and is a lot more user-friendly. I think it's kind of more catered towards companies that want to run internal phishing exercises. It allows you to set up services and then run things kind of continuously. The Browser Exploitation Framework, or BEEF, that's the last one, is more of an attack platform than a phishing tool. It uses browser hooks to take control over someone's browser sessions. It works really well when you pair it with other tools. Finally, we get to everyone's favorite part, the reporting. This is where you review all your notes to produce a report for the customer. At the minimum, you're going to need to describe the attack scenario, list the targets, and then any results that were collected. Really good reports are going to have statistics about comparing the list of targets to the amount of successful credentials that were compromised or systems that were taken over, and they're going to show business impact to some respect of the attack. So.
All right. Not because I'm a hillbilly, I'm lazy. Just because I'm a programmer, I'm lazy. Just get that out of the way there. Hillbillies are not lazy. They're resourceful. So are programmers, but programmers do it to be lazy. So that's conflicting. Still, as I'm doing engagements, as I'm doing work, any given time I'm doing something that is repetitive, something like that, I'm looking for ways to automate it. And the things that we've covered already through this process, are there ways we can automate it? And of course, the answer is always yes. Luckily, some of the tools out there, whether it be Beef or Recon or Set, they all have their own provided API interface or command line interface. Some of them give you great output back, whether it's comma separated, XML, JSON, whatever. Other tools out there, like the Harvester or things like that, may not give you nice parsable output clean, but it's a little bit of work with Sed, Awk, grep, or Perl, or Python, whatever your favorite scripting language is to pull that data out. So just get a little resourceful. You can automate and parse so much stuff that's out there. Yeah, it's easy. So yes, it can be automated. But at the same time, after I started automating those processes over and over and over, I decided that I was just going to write my own tool to do my particular process that I followed a lot. I tweaked it a little bit, took other people's input, and so I came up with SPF, the Speed Phishing Framework. Yes, I'm using the acronym SPF. It's a play on Standard Policy Framework. And no, this technically isn't a framework, but I needed something in there to fill in the F on SPF, so yeah, take that as you will. What it does is, the processes that we discussed earlier, all the way from Recon to reporting-esque, this does automate that process. It can be interactive, but it can be fully automated at the same time. From the perspective that you can just provide it a domain name with a few flags and walk away and come back and you should have some results. It is written in Python. No dings to the Python or Perl or whatever communities out there. I just thought this would be a good Python project, and so I wrote it in that. Could have probably written it in Ruby or many other languages. Happened to work well in Python, so I went with it. And one thing that I did adhere to through this process is trying to incorporate as few external dependencies as possible. One of my pet peeves is getting a program, going to run it, and it has a whole ton of external dependencies. You have to download, compile it. I went with as minimal as possible where I could, which meant a little extra work on my part at times, but still, we'll just go ahead and go with that. Some of the things it currently does. As I said before, it will harvest the email addresses for you, does it in a very similar method currently to what the Harvester does, things of that nature. Does Google searches, it goes out to other websites as well, doing that, looking for ways to improve upon that in the future. But right now it will do that, or you can provide it a list of targets if your customer so chose to give you that. It does set up and deploy the websites for you. There's a list of 6 or so default ones built in. It can do other things as well. We'll get to that later. It will send the phishing emails for you. Multiple different ways it can do that. We'll touch on that as well. It does record it records lots of data for you during the process, including credentials, key logs, stats, all that. And finally, yeah, it creates a report. It's not a great report. It records lots and lots of data for you that you can use to make your own report if you so choose. There is a HTML report in there. Please don't hold it against me, but there is one in there that is horrible, but it is in there for placeholder until future, but it's in there. All right, so we'll step through a little bit of it real quick here, just because during the execution of the tool, it tends to scroll pretty quickly. Get a few slides up here for you just to get the feel for it. Yes, it is command line. It does have command line options. It's a growing list of command line options as it goes, gets larger and larger. Various things all the way from dictating what target you're going after all the way to whether you enable verbose error logs or verbose output with answering yes to all questions, things of that nature. There is a config file as well, which sort of replicates what the command line options are if it's something that you want to just set and forget it so that you can worry about it later. As I said, it does follow the standard phishing process. We've already covered that. Don't need to go back over it. But in particular, it does go do the recon, like as I said, goes out to Bing, Google, DuckDuckGo, Yandex, all major search engines, trying to find potential targets. It pulls them back and builds a list out of them. It can use external tools as the Harvester and others if you so choose to help write any of those, please. Or you can specify it on the command line and just say, include this file of targets as well. Just a quick example of it going out, pulling in from Google. I don't know how many it says it's grabbed there, but it grabbed a few. This is for example.com, I think. So just let it goes through, grabs a bunch of targets, and you can go in and clean this list up later if you wish. But by default, it will grab them all and just try to send emails to all of them if you let it. Next, it will deploy a web server along with multiple web targets, one to many. It uses the Twisted library. It's one of the few external dependencies it needs. It will use the Twisted library to deploy it in both a virtual hosting manner or a port hosting manner. If you deploy more than one phishing website, it will do it on like port 8000, 8001, 8002, so forth. Virtual hosting will redirect that, so you don't have to worry about the ports if you enable that. There is an option for it to do one of the more advanced features that is sort of experimental still, but it does work in a lot of cases, called company profiling. It'll go out and it will scan the target domain looking for websites, go through each website looking for login portals, and then dynamically clone those to use those as part of the phishing exercise, making all the necessary changes to make all the hooks work and properly configured that way. It can do that on the fly if you so let it. Yeah, in this example, it's loaded 3 different templates, an Office 365, an OWA, and a Citrix. You can see it's set up, where is that at? On different ports, 8000, 8001, but it also redirected virtual hosting to them, so if you want to include that in your emails, if virtual hosting is enabled, it will automatically include that in the emails. Sample of the websites. Look like standard websites any company is going to have out there. Sending the emails, it can send emails by connecting directly to the target's MX record or SMTP server, send it that way. That's the default. If you want to change that, you can go into the config file and change it, and you can specify any outgoing SMTP server you want, whether it be Gmail account, whether it's an smtp.com account, or whatever. GoDaddy, when you registered your phishing domain, they'll probably give you an email account as well. You can specify that and go with it. There is an option to simulate sending it, and it does the whole process where it just comes back instead of sending, it says, would have sent this email with this template to this target, just so you can look at it, see what would have happened. Example of it here. It found a bunch of different email templates associated with the websites that it's hosting, and here you can see but this was just a test, so forth, what it would have sent. Show that more later. Collecting responses. All logs to all access to the websites are logged. All credentials are logged. What is it? If you enable user tracking with the little token, it logs who clicked on the link, who visited the site. Does key logging. I control the websites. I have key logging enabled, so every keystroke, backspace, arrow keys, everything, tab is logged. So you can go and look at that if maybe you can gain some useful piece of information out there. And it also has the ability to do what I call pillaging email accounts. Again, one of the more advanced experimental. I'm really developing on this one, trying to expand it. What that does is when it captures a set of credentials, it'll try to log in with those credentials to the target on one of their mail servers. If it can validate and log in, then it goes ahead and starts on the pillaging part, which is currently it looks through all the mail headers to look for subjects and bodies and what have you, looking for things that match certain key phrases. If it finds one, it downloads that email message. Same thing for attachments. If it finds an attachment that has a certain name or structure, it downloads it for local look later. I'm not doing this to completely automate the post-exploitation phase. I'm doing it so that, like Eric said, this is time sensitive. When you're doing your exercise and you're doing your phishing, you might have launched this, you went up to go to the bathroom, you might have got up and had to go to a meeting, something like that. You got your credentials in, and you're not there to test it right away. But by the time you come back, the customer's been made aware of it, they went in and changed the credentials and all that. What this does is, as soon as it captures those credentials, it tries to do this. So if nothing else, you have that little bit of window where it says, oh, look, I caught them, I tried them, I got the result, good. Worst case scenario, you don't get in, but at least you have that piece of data to help show the customer. Collecting results, yeah, you can see it does the key logging, it captures the credentials. Reports, yeah, told you it's a very ugly report, blah. But it does log everything into a directory with all the data, subdirectories and all that. Easily parsable, it's all text, except for the screenshots, but everything else is text. You can grab and search for your heart's content. Advanced features, already covered these, the company profiler and pillage. And now the demo. Let's see if we can jump into that. Let's all pray to the demo gods. So, give me just a second while I skip over and set this up. Okay, where am I at here? Let me minimize that. Bring this up. All right. Where's my screen at now?
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, while I'm switching this over, go ahead. Questions?
Go ahead.
In that scenario, what you could do is you can specify the target list as a file, and you can just have a target file that just says everything else is the same. You can just say that target file, just send it to these two targets.
So the question.
Okay, go ahead. Maybe I misunderstood. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
So the question was about the testing. Now, when we had the message up there that said this is a test, I think the question is that do we have a feature where we can do a test with a number of test accounts, and then we can actually go through and test them and then go into the next step. Was that kind of the?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And basically, you could do that now because when you pass it email file list, it's going to use that list and not do the reconnaissance phase.
Yes.
Right,
Actually, we'll do both. The reconnaissance
it.
phase is one flag. The reading from a file is another flag. You can do one or the other, or you can do them both, and it would pull them from both. So you could either say just do everything the same, just send it to this target list, this 3-person list, and go with it. And then if that works, and you're like, okay, now just do the full recon and send it to everybody, or something like that if you wish. Right. Yeah. Basically, you're running it twice in that case. It takes a few seconds for it to run, really. Well, if it's doing the recon, it might take like a minute to run, but still.
That could be a really cool new feature, though.
Yeah. Talk to me later, and we'll talk about the specifics.
Catch us later.
So right now, I think you all can see it. So let's go ahead.
Can everybody read this? Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's a user list. A command line listing of options. So let me scroll that up just a little bit. So a few of the things you'll probably want to enable by default on all of them is the -D option that specifies the target domain you're going after. That can also be specified in the config file, but we'll just work from here. If you don't specify a config file, it will search for a default.cfg in the current directory and run with that. I provide one from the GitHub. There's a bunch of other flags in there, meta flags like enable all, just do testing, do recon, a bunch of other ones, external, so forth. So let's go ahead and get started like what you would do on a typical engagement. Let me go ahead and make sure my demo is set up right. All right, so /spf-d. I'm running a separate VM on here just so I don't have to worry about the internet. It's called example.fish, just so I don't confuse it.
Fancy.
Ooh, I'm fancy. I have my own TLD there. So that would be an awesome one, by the way. So let's go ahead and enable very verbose output, and let's go ahead and gather from the internet. Yes, go ahead and obtain a list of targets. It goes out, as I said, to Google, Bing, Ask, Dogpile. You can see there. It's easy to expand that to others. It's the same list as you see in the Harvester. I went back and made all the pull requests to Harvester to make sure they were in sync. Made any updates, and you're going to see this just comes back as an error. This is going to be a common experience on some customers where they might not have very much on the internet at all, or you might be doing this internal to their network and they don't really have internet connectivity or something like that you can do. But what you can do is remove that and switch it with a file and go with targets, and that target file had one email address in there, which is, if it's down there, let me scroll it up a little, which is sjane@example.fish. So that's great. We're going to go with that one. That's the one the customer gave us. That's the one we're going to use. So let's go ahead, just provide the same thing, targeting at example.fish. Just enable very verbose output so we can see the output. Give it that target list. Let's start up a web server, and let's be risky here, going against what I told you to do earlier, and just go ahead and send the emails. Just because it's a demo and I don't feel like doing an extra execution. So let's go ahead and hit yes. In this scenario, I got an extra one running there, so I'll move there. All right, let's do this again. All right, so you can see there's 6 different templates you can enable by default in there. Office 365, Cisco, OWA, and so forth. Specify the ones you want to enable. I know I only have one target in there, and I'm going to go after an Office 365, so I'll enable the first one. Hit number 1, hit enter. Yeah, that's good. Go ahead and start the web server. It started up that web server. I don't have virtual hosting enabled right now, so it's just doing it by port-based redirection. It's on 143:8000. Great. Go ahead and get the list of targets. Find the templates that match that for the email. It found one in there. Send the emails, and it sent the email. I have very verbose on, so you see the email body go by. And now it's waiting for activity. So let's jump over to the website. I'm logged in as sjane on her email client here. Let's see what happens. Oh, look, we got an email here. Office webmail, Office 365 from support@example. It says, in an effort to continue, blah, blah, blah. You can go in and change that. I just got sample text in there just to help out. Click on this link to verify that you can access it. So let's go ahead and click on it, and that's your Office 365. If we jump back, you can quickly see right there, right off the bat, that it shows an access to the website. It shows sjane did it. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
You see that?
Can everybody see that, or do I need to zoom in again? Oh. But either way, you can see that sjane is the one who accessed it, what IP and what have you. So let's jump back over here. Let's go ahead and type in, I don't know, sjane@example.fish. And password of whatever. Hit enter. And this is just the standard error page. You can go and specify that for each template, what you want it to point to. I have it just go into a default one. As well, I could set it up to, what is it, that some of the other ones say that's like, you have been phished. I don't want that. So
Or it could forward to the company website.
right. You can set it up to redirect wherever you want. But the main thing here is you see all the key logs coming in. Key logging, all the characters, including the tab. At the bottom, you'll see that there's a credential of username of sjane and password of whatever I typed in there. And the... What's that?
Yeah.
Yep, yeah, that's exactly why I'm doing the key logging. They start typing it in, they're like, oh, let me delete that or cancel out. You won't see the credential line, but you will see all the key logging. So you might be able to reconstitute what their password would be from that. So that was the standard execution of it. So let's go ahead and kill out of that. It does create a directory. Let's jump in there. Example.fish_example.com. It's a combination of your phishing domain and the target domain, just so it's unique. Let's jump in there. Let's clear. It makes a series of subdirectories, logs, pillage, and so forth. Let's go ahead and look in the logs. All your logs are stored in here. For example, the Office 365. You can see all the logs that came in from that. It's dumped in there. There's another one in there that's of particular interest, which is the process log. Process log is a timestamp, date and timestamp log of every single thing that was outputted to the screen or the tool ran. So if the customer comes back and asks you what happened at a particular time, you have the full log based on your current time. and it dumps everything in there that it does. So let's go back and we'll try one other example here. Let me go ahead and dump that, remove that. So let's go ahead and rerun it, but this time with, okay, let's go ahead and do it with the DNS option, which is required for the pillage. Is this right? I think that's right. Yep, okay, so it's going through. In order to do the pillage, it has to identify IMAP or POP3S or SMTP servers on the target. So it has to run through that to try to find targets. And we'll let it run through that and we'll see it quickly find a few. It can't find any through Google searches. I'm not on Google at the moment, but next it goes through and just has a list of potential target host names, tries to check each one of those. Any it finds, it makes a list, then it will go through and do a port scan of each one of those for certain ports to see if it finds one that has a 993, 995, port 25 or so forth on it to find that. Then it comes back, says, okay, I've found a bunch of systems. Let's go ahead and deploy the website. Yes. Yes, go ahead and get the list. Yes, load that. Yes, send the emails. And now it's sitting there listening. So let's go back to poor Sally here. Wait a second. All right, so here's Sally. Sally has this link again. So go ahead and click on it. Let's log in as sjane at example.fish I think that's right, unless I typoed it. Nope, I typoed it. So let's try that again. Sorry about that.
Sally doesn't know her password.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. Example.fish. All right, there we go. All right, so, and again, not working. Why? Am I not remembering my password? All right, well, I have a backup for this.
Let me try one more time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me make sure.
You guys want us to try one more time? Yeah.
All right, well, I'll try one more time.
Let's go against the demo gods.
Okay, let's reload this. All right. Okay, let's go. Jane and okay, that looks right. Yeah, that's right. All right. Now let's look and maybe not. All right.
Is that the right?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do this the old-fashioned way. So let's jump in. Let me run this by hand and show you what would have happened had apparently I had not forgot my password. So, Python core mail pillage. Here, sjane is trying to connect in, and okay, it worked. So I don't know what was going on a second ago, but so what you're going to see here is, wow, that's a lot of, but yeah. So first thing it's going to do is it says that Sally with password of blah was able to validate on that IP, going and looking for message bodies that match, in this test cases, credential, account, password, login, and find several of them. For each one of those, it downloads it to a local directory. Oops, go back. Then it also goes in and similar things, like I said, this is just for testing purposes at the moment. Looks for attachments. It found one attachment called credentials.txt, pulls it out. It looks for additional targets. It found that there is an Compton at example.fish, support at example.fish. I'm working on a way to have it automatically take those if it's not part of the list that you had already provided. Say, would you like me now to fish these gentlemen? And if you say yes, it'll repeat the process to them automatically. So yeah, and it pulls down subject lines of emails that match certain things. So this is something I'm working on to expand and grow. It's just placeholder for future work I'm wanting to put in here. It's something that I'd like to see grow. But let's go ahead and look at in here. You'll see it pulled down the credentials file, which just contained a bunch of credentials. It pulled down all the emails from Sally, just the raw message dump of everything it had. So that is the general execution of it. There's a few other features that can do in there. If you just want to deploy the web server by itself, you can do that without doing everything else. If you're just wanting to send emails, everything is modular. You can kick off certain parts and not the others. Or at any point, you could always just give it the -Y option, which says answer yes to all questions and just go and do your stuff. So you can kick that off, hit Y, and just come back later and see what you've captured, which is kind of interesting. There's thought processes about how to automate that and for random targets, but that's a different story. You can talk to me later about that. So let's go ahead and jump back to the actual slides now. Let me switch back over. There's not going to be a few more slides here. Where are you at? There we go. Pick that up, throw this in. And I'll just talk off of these real quick here. Where did you go to? There. All right, we'll just talk off this real quick here. Demo sort of worked. Future work, incorporating more external tools if they're present. I don't want to add an external tool that is a requirement. If it's a requirement, I want to build it in. But if there's other tools that can help supplement, add to, enhance, that's great. Incorporate those. Definitely more work on the profiling and pillaging. Due to the scenario we're here, I couldn't really do the profiling. It doesn't work in this lab environment. Maybe fancy reports. I don't know. You tell me. Is that something you want me to add in there, or something that you all can do yourself? Incorporate SSL. Maybe incorporate SSL. Due to the way it's done, I don't really know the best solution to that. If you have any thoughts, please hit me up. Possibly use like lexencrypt.org when it becomes publicly available with their API. Maybe using that to get some hits in there, automatically generating true SSL search for all of them on demand. Any other suggestions people have, please share. It's on GitHub. It's been at the bottom of the link down here the entire time. Please go out, do a poll. If you find something, submit it for an update, what have you. Submit an issue ticket, I don't care. Anything just to help this thing improve. Big thank you, as I said, to all the other developers out there. I love the tools that are out there. They've helped me out numerous times over the years doing engagements. Even if they don't work quite the way I want, it gets me thinking. It can help me down the road, and it helps other people brainstorm and come up with other solutions as well. Great. All the people up here and everybody who's not even on here that's written tools. Thank you all. It's great. We need more tools written in there. Thank you to all of you to sitting through all this and not throwing stuff at me. That's great. I particularly like that one. That's a nice one. And finally...
That's it. We take back that slide.
But no, some final information. If you want to find links on us or find links on the tool, whatever, it's up there. I don't know how we're doing on time, but we're done. We'll take questions.
Questions?
We're taking questions. Suggestions, questions, comments on how my physique looks. So, thank you. All right.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.